Cold day here at Quest Diagnostics Training Center here in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Paul, the Giants just wrapped up their garbage bag day. Obviously, the biggest news, Joe Schoen has been retained by ownership as the GM. He just got through speaking to us, the media. I hand it to you, sir. Your biggest takeaways from Joe Schoen's press conference.
Well, no huge surprise if you're reading the New York Post. All signs seem to point to Joe Schoen coming back. Now you say they won 4 games. Why is he coming back? Well, ownership said when they fired Brian Daboll on November 10th, we feel that Joe has put together a good young nucleus of players. What does that tell you? That tells you ownership thinks they were not being coached up to the level of their talent. Now, that remains to be seen. Joe Schoen said he was honored and humbled to be, coming back here. He knows when you win 3 games in 4 games, it's not a done deal that you're going to come back. So I think he should be honored and humbled, and maybe certainly fortunate that he has a patient ownership that will allow him to come back and finish the job. It was interesting that Joe admitted, he made mistakes as a first-time GM. Admitted that, looking back on it, signing Daniel Jones to a 2-year contract extension did not work out. There were other things that, right?
Saquon.
Well, he didn't mention Saquon Barkley. I don't think he thinks.
No, I didn't mention it, but I think that was a stumble.
Well, I don't think he thinks it was a mistake. I don't. But I do think there are things he admitted that he did that he would not do again. He's a first-time GM. See, that's one of the big problems in this profession. Is that in football is that you hire a first-time head coach, and then after a couple of years, you get rid of him because he's learning on the job. A first-time head coach is going to learn on the job. You're going to learn on your job for the first time. I'm going to learn on my job for the first time. So you hire a first-time GM in Joe Schoen, and then after a couple of missteps, you say, you're out. Now, fans will say that's 4 years. That's too long.
Yeah.
Okay, fans can say what they think. This is what ownership decided to do. And, Joe Schoen said he's ready to roll. He's got a long list of head coach candidates, and they're going to start interviews this week. So, Mike Kafka will be one of those interviews. I don't think he's certainly the favorite to win this job, but he will be one of the interviews.
And let's stay on this coaching search because there were a lot of questions asked about it, and he was very open with a lot of it. He talked about it could be a coordinator, whether it be offensive, defensive, and he even mentioned maybe checking out some college guys as well when it comes to that availability. But he did say that this time, this process is different than his first time because he didn't even have a staff underneath him. Now he said he's had a 7-week runway to be able to go and kind of look at guys, and that he's going upstairs right now to speak to ownership and lay out some sort of plan. What does that plan look like, Paul, to you?
Well, I think they're going to value experience. I really do. This does not feel to me that let's take a flyer on a first-time coordinator and see if it works. They tried that with Brian Daboll, who was 4 years ago, was a very highly regarded offensive coordinator, and ultimately it did not work. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to hire a coordinator who's never been a head coach, but I think they would like to, if they can, find someone with experience. Joe Schoen said it's very important to get someone who can work with Jaxson Dart. That does not mean you disqualify all the defensive guys. It just doesn't mean that. That's, it's a very narrow-minded way to go. We have a young quarterback. We got to get an offensive coordinator. No, you don't. You have to get a really good head coach. And if he's from a guy from a defensive background, the first question is, who is your offensive coordinator going to be?
Absolutely.
What do you think of Jaxson Dart, and who will you bring in to help develop this guy? The one thing I think the Giants really felt with Brian Daboll from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 and into year 4 is his staff did not get better. And there's no question that Wink Martindale, who was not a perfect defensive coordinator, but he was better than Shane Bowen. And if Wink Martindale was here still, if they would have mended that relationship that had that fallout, that they wouldn't have blown 5 fourth-quarter leads. They just wouldn't have.
Agree.
So, because look what happened. They put in a first-time defensive coordinator in Charlie Bullen, and after a little bit of a growing period, Abdul Carter played better. Bobby Okereke played better.
Yes.
They stopped the run better. They weren't great, but they were better.
Yes.
And Joe, I think Joe Schoen said, was it Joe Schoen or was it Kafka? I forget. I think it was Kafka that Charlie Bullen simplified things.
Kafka said that.
Simplify
Yeah,
things,
guys
right?
knew how to play faster because they knew where to be.
And this is a guy, Charlie Bullen, who's never been a coordinator and was just, a battlefield promotion to get it. So that is the key. It's not all about Jaxson Dart. And Joe Schoen also said something interesting, which is not surprising. The candidates or the candidates' representatives that he has spoken to think this is a very good job. And every one of them said, yes, I'm on board with Jaxson Dart. You know what I mean? Look, coaches, your father is a coach, right? I'm sure your father thinks a lot differently. He wakes up in the morning and talks to you when he has a quarterback or when he thinks he doesn't have a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
When he has a quarterback, he thinks he's got something.
Absolutely, because you can evaluate things. You can evaluate talent. And you also got a guy that can get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because whether your coordinator, your offensive coordinator could be, it could be the worst play call in the world. But how many times have we seen a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady, or Josh Allen be able to improvise, play a little bit off script, and make a play to keep the chains moving or to come up with some sort of big play in a huge moment of a football game? So without the quarterback position, you can't evaluate anything. So the fact that he has that in place, and I think all of New York, there's a consensus agreement that Jaxson Dart is the guy going forward. Boom. That's the check mark that's put in place.
On a rookie contract.
For a rookie deal, Paul.
This is, if you would say to any coach or especially a GM, what do you want when you wake up in the morning in the world? I want a rookie quarterback who I believe in on a rookie contract, because you're not paying him Daniel Jones $40 million a year. You're paying him relative peanuts in the NFL, and you have probably a 2 or 3 year, I would say a 2-year window now to look. If Jaxson Dart is what they want and they win, after a year, after 2 or 3 years, you're gonna have to pay. 3 years. You got 2 more years of cheap labor for Jaxson Dart, and that's what any GM wants. Now you can sign guys and fill other holes, not worry about paying the quarterback $50 million.
Another thing I heard Joe Schoen and Mike Kafka talk about is leadership. Mike Kafka obviously talked about leading these men, obviously getting the back-to-back wins to end the season off on a good note. Joe Schoen, when he was asked about what they would be looking for in terms of attributes for the new head coach, would leadership be one of those qualities? He said yes. But it takes me into when we were in the locker room earlier talking to the players. You spoke with Dan Roten, I spoke with Tyrone Tracy Jr. and other players. When we asked them what attributes or key qualities do you want in this next head coach, every single one of those guys said leadership, leader of men. Tyrone Tracy Jr. used the word, I want a dog. There's something there, Paul, when it comes to this next head coach. That's why I'm seeing it being a veteran coach with some sort of experience, because it seems like the players want someone that's going to hold them accountable and right this ship. And it's just like, I don't care how you come in. You can be Bobby Knight with your approach if you need to be, but do what you have to do to hold every player in this building accountable so we can win. In another word, details, so we can win on the details to not lose these games.
Yeah, Joe Schoen mentioned football acumen, but I think, which is important, but I agree with you. Sometimes I think that is too much of a priority, football acumen. When you watch a game and people say, oh, that guy should get a head coaching job, and it's based on him calling a great game on defense as a defensive coordinator. Okay, that means he's a great defensive coordinator. Now we have to investigate it to see, I asked Joe Schoen this, right? And he admitted it's one of the hardest things to take that hot coordinator, the Ben Johnson, right? The Ben Johnson, who was a terrific offensive coordinator, and say, he is going to be a great head coach. Now, after 1 year, he's a great head coach, but those are more misses than hits. It is very, very difficult. Steve Spagnuolo was a great defensive coordinator and is now, with the Chiefs, a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. He was not a very good head coach with the Rams. Now, there were reasons for that. I get it. Everyone looks dumb when you don't have a quarterback. I get it. But it's the hardest thing. So I agree with you that, let's get the offensive coordinator because his offense looks really good. Well, maybe he just has a really good quarterback and a really good offensive line. You have to look beyond that and say, who is a leader of men? Greg Van Roten, who's been in the league, with Doug, 10, 12 years, said, I like the CEO. I don't want a guy whose head is buried in here. I want a guy who's commanding the whole thing and he knows he can give it off to his coordinators and things like that. Look, Mike Kafka this year, the big thing he did, right? One of the biggest things he did was he benched Abdul Carter twice. Okay, so now the Giants know if we bring in Mike Kafka to be our head coach, that's how he handles discipline. And any other team that may interview him for head coach, that they say, well, how would you handle discipline? He would say, look what I did.
Look at my
This is the third pick in the draft, and I sat him, and he played better afterwards. So that's accountability. I agree with you. We think players don't want accountability. They don't. Did any players complain about what Kafka did to
Absolutely
Abdul
not.
Carter?
Absolutely not.
Did they say he's coming down on him? He's only a kid.
Nope.
Right?
And you look at guys like Brian Burns and the Dexter Lawrences, you almost want Mike Kafka. You almost thank him for doing that, because we always talk about, oh, what's the senior leadership like? What's the vets going to do? I can only tell a guy so much.
The vets aren't going to bench you.
I can't bench you.
You can't bench
I
you.
can tell you, hey, come on, man. You got to be on time. Come on, bro.
Come on, let's go. Let's go, man.
I can't take money out of your check. I can't reprimand you the way that NFL players want that accountability to happen. Wrap us up here, Paul, because it was a 2025 season that we came in. A lot of people came into it with a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and here we are today, Garbage Bag Day. Your final thoughts on this season?
First of all, we have to change it. There's no more garbage bags. It's boxes now.
Okay, boxes.
We have to call it Boxing Day.
We're economically friendly now.
Boxing Day, right? Yeah, they do all that stuff. So for me, I would say this: if you told me 4 or 5 months ago, you read me, Jaxson Dart's the rookie they drafted. Look at these stats. I would say, man, the Giants had a pretty good year. They found a rookie quarterback. So there's a dichotomy there. Excellent rookie, 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a lot of production.
Yeah.
He was really good. The team was really bad. The offense was pretty good. The defense was pretty bad. So they have to fix this now. They have their quarterback, but that doesn't mean everything. So the key thing, Joe Schoen is back. He has to find the right head coach. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. A new head coach and some tweaks to this roster, and the Giants can flip the script in 2026. But it all starts with finding the right guy.
All right, let's hope. That's a wrap on the 2025 Blue Rush. Thank you guys for watching with us. For Paul Schwartz, I'm Brandon London. Thanks for watching Blue Rush.